Good morning. Welcome to the Convention Center. And I would like to see some hands from the people who are visiting Hong Kong for the first time in their lives. Very few, but I also want to welcome you to Hong Kong in this magnificent city. And I will just check whether I have my first slide. I will talk about this magnificent city first and foremost. And I selected this slide as the first slide so I can talk about literally anything that I feel like here. Because I've been instructed to talk about entrepreneurship in this city and the opportunities in this city. And I do think that my path and my story is a good testament to what Hong Kong is about. I'm Hungarian. I lived in 10 different cities. Hong Kong is my number 10, and since I was 15, this is the longest time, and this is the place where I lived for the longest time in one go, 6 years, and that's for a reason. When I arrived here, I felt that everything was possible in Hong Kong, and indeed, anything is possible in Hong Kong. The great thing about this city is that if you learn and understand the values and the mechanism how business operates, if you stick to those rules and values, and you add creativity, grit, and commitment, I do think that there is no limit to achievement and business. And that's why I actually decided to not even try to move anywhere else from here unless World War III or other epidemics force me out of the city. I found my lady here that I hope I can marry very soon, and I will have my second family in Hong Kong and establish myself as a proper Hong Kong, proud Hong Kong citizen. Now, when I arrived to this city, Hong Kong wanted to be the capital in Asia of art and culture. Quite interestingly, the only asset I had as a Hungarian who just arrived to the city not knowing anyone was the license of the biggest contemporary art festival in the world called Nuit Blanche, which was launched or originated in Paris. And I organized an edition of that in southern Italy and Serbia. That is a story for a high tea. And if anyone is interested, I'm very happy to welcome you later on to share that. But I arrived with that one asset. And I decided that in 3 years, I would get into a position that I could organize a festival on my own. So I went on a road, started to consult for a couple of different companies, that took me to the role of a CEO of a new online ticketing company called Ticketflap, which was associated to the now biggest music festival in Hong Kong called Clockenflap, and I have become part of that group and contributed to the development of the company, creating a holding business out of that. And the evolution of that business showed me exactly what I just stated, that anything is possible in Hong Kong. Why? And I'm going to talk about Clockenflap right now for a second, because it was launched by a couple, actually 3 very passionate individuals who thought that Hong Kong needed a music festival. And Hong Kong didn't really have a music festival. Hong Kong had a couple of trials to set up a music festival, and they were failed beforehand, a couple of occasions. And these 3 individuals were nothing extremely special. It's a very, 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 very good team, great complementary skills, a CTO, an artist, and a music producer and lover. And through all the challenges that you who live in Hong Kong, can imagine from the government side of things and also from a regulation side of things, since there was no blueprint to run a music festival, they navigated through the rules, were sticking to the rules, and in 8 years, now they are licensing their music festival brand to 4 countries around the world and running one of the most significant ticketing agencies, independent ticketing agencies in Asia, and expanding rapidly. Why can they do that? It's partly because how Hong Kong is situated in the world and how Hong Kong is set up as a business center, so it enables such ideas to actually flourish and also to then go out of Hong Kong to the rest of the world. That connectivity is the second bit that attracted me in Hong Kong. There are very, very few cities in the world where you can start something and expand rapidly all over the world, and definitely in Asia. Now, let me tell you what happened after Clockenflap. I had an epiphany when I was 30. I realized I had nothing to do actually with entertainment. Then I asked myself, what had I to do with, or what value did I want to create and add to the world? And as I triangulated my values and my interests in the global ecosystems and opportunities, I realized that the people that I felt best with were all innovators, the startup founders of the world, and my short role as CEO of Ticketflap took me to Web Summit, where I got enlightened by what it means to be a startup founder, what it means to be surrounded by that diversity and by that continuous feedback that only this kind of community actually preaches and practices every single day, because their business is their life, and they are doing that business in a very agile, very rapidly developing and extremely committed way. So I decided I wanted to become part of this community, even though I had very, very little to offer. I was still just a Hungarian, 30 years old, with some entertainment background in Hong Kong, quite a good network, but had nothing to do with innovation or entrepreneurship in a startup sense. Looking at the landscape, I was asking myself, what did this ecosystem and other ecosystems around the world actually need? I was originally considering to set up my own fund, which was not very complicated from an opportunity point of view or a structural point of view, but it's not what the city needed. I was also thinking about setting up a co-working space because I was known as a good connector, a good networker, and I had access to spaces. But I also realized Hong Kong didn't need another co-working space. Hong Kong now has, and I'm telling this to you who might not know this detail, Hong Kong now has more than 55 co-working spaces as the latest number, from the very cheap to the very expensive, to from a very exclusive to the very open, very good initiatives, most of them, but that was not what was missing. What I realized was missing a connectivity between the different communities and the different ecosystems within the ecosystem. A platform where all these people can come together, congregate, and collaborate. Because that collaboration is the key driver of the startup ecosystems and the innovation world. I wanted to facilitate that collaboration. I wanted to facilitate innovation through connectivity. And as a consequence, I created Mettā to empower ideas and people through co-innovation, which is a term that I'm coining and trying to introduce to you today as well. Co-innovation is the next evolution of open innovation. I'm sure most of you know what open innovation means. It means that corporations open up their innovation processes and functions and invite others like startups or other experts externally to contribute to their processes. Co-innovation takes this to the next level through integrating multiple parties into this process and make it a real information exchange in the innovation process, and not a one-dimensional and one-directional information exchange. But what Mettā really is, it is not a space, and it's not just a platform. As we look at Mettā, it's a network of people who are engaged and relevant in the world of innovation. connected online through content, spaces, and projects. What does that really mean? We do have an app that we are about to launch. It's in a beta test mode that is about to be the social network for innovators around the world, and ideally the most engaged database of people who are relevant and active in startup ecosystems and the world of innovation all over the world. Let me tell you a little bit how we launched, because if you don't mind, I just landed this morning and I put these slides together, so I'm just seeing what I put on this slide. So what is more interesting, I believe, from a business building point of view, we didn't start with the online bit because we had to create a proof of concept that what we are preaching actually makes sense, that people actually want to come together, that people actually want to collaborate, people actually want something more than a co-working space in this world. We opened our first space in California Tower, Lang Kwai Fong, in a beautiful environment in May 2016, this year. And what was very difficult in the beginning is to really prove and convince people that it was not a co-working space, because it is not. We are not selling desks or chairs. We are not renting the space out for people to work there. We created an environment where people can come together to exchange ideas, whatever it might mean. But we were always conscious about the limitations of the space in itself. So the goal was always to flip the structure that we created with the space, with content, and a little bit of online presence to online presence, content, and by the way, we will be having spaces in the future. The online connectivity bit is our major focus for the future. Our efforts in what we are doing have been recognized by a couple of key publications around the world, which convinced us that we are on the right track. And we set up the second Mettā space in Nairobi. And you might ask, why Nairobi? And there are some very good reasons. Purely that could defend Kenya is the best second market to launch this concept. But most importantly, I wanted to launch Mettā in an environment which is drastically different from Hong Kong. And Nairobi, or by launching in Nairobi, we turned Mettā into a global platform immediately. We are about to build a global proposition, and by having it operating in a very, very different market and finding that proposition that works in both markets and ecosystems, I'm positive that we can get to a globally relevant proposition much faster, much sooner than launching the concept in Singapore or Shanghai or Manila the second time, which would turn it into a Greater Chinese, Southeast Asian, or Asian concept. And now we are working on a global concept that we can ideally roll out in an online form. How do we bring people together right now, and how are we bringing people together globally? We are doing that most importantly through events and in the future diverse content. And we have a global content calendar that encompasses and covers all the relevant topics of the startup, innovation, and entrepreneurial world, from education to fintech, from social development to data. As I said, Mettā is not a co-working space. Mettā, and I will just show you some pictures to you, is different in many, many ways, and it was a goal from the very beginning. We crowdsourced almost everything in the space, and we crowdsourced almost everything about the concept itself. Even the name Mettā is not my choice. The name Mettā was the result of a global competition which was running in 50 different cities. We had more than 500 submissions, which was coming after a brief that we sent out, a single image to different co-working spaces and our partners and friends around the world who were working in innovation and with startups. And the brief was what I just explained to you. And the meaning of this world that was actually voted and selected by the community is close mental union of like-minded people, which is something I would have never thought of. But the way we could have found this fantastic name was through crowdsourcing, and what's something we call crowdsourced innovation. We also crowdsourced the logo and most of the furniture, most of the light bulbs, which are the most innovative and energy efficient light bulbs in the world, a Hong Kong startup, and OLED panels on the top were all sourced from the Hong Kong startup scene and also globally. This is how Mettā looks during the day. It feels like a coffee shop meets a first-class airport lounge meets a co-working space, even though it does not want to be, but it caters to working. We wanted people from students to billionaires, from government agencies to successful entrepreneurs to feel home in this space and do whatever they would do with each other in their work to facilitate and work on innovation. So this is how it looks, but this is how we like it to look, and we are holding one event every single day in this space. And it's not really about the quantity, it is about the quality and the quantity. We have a couple of rules at Mettā. At the salons that we are hosting, every speaker has only 1 minute, and it wasn't introduced only because I talk too much every time I get a microphone in front of me, but it's because we want people to get to the point. We want to focus on action. We want to focus on facilitating real conversations about real things and turning ideas into reality. And we are looking for efficient ways for that. Most of these events are not organized or facilitated by us. They are organized by our community partners and members because it is operated like a members club for this world. The membership fee is very, very reasonable at 6,880 Hong Kong dollar per year. And it's that cheap because we wanted university students to have access to this space if they were serious about innovation. We didn't want this to be a rich boys club because we have enough of those. We wanted this to be the space of people who are serious about innovation. And we give much, much more value to our members than this 6,880 Hong Kong dollars. Now you would ask, if it's that cheap, how are we sustaining ourselves? It's a question I'm asking myself every day. And if you remember what I said in the beginning, that we connect people through ideas, through events, online, and projects. Now, co-innovation comes back here. The way we make money right now, and the way we would like to engage our community is through consulting work to corporations that want to get involved in the world of innovation. We are crowdsourcing innovation from our membership base for light or heavy duty consulting projects for companies like Manulife, Visa, Infinity, or Facebook. We helped most of them or all of these and many others to hold or run projects in our space or beyond our space to learn about certain entrepreneurial skill sets, latest trends in innovation, or whatever they needed internally. Just as an example, for Infinity, we ran an entrepreneurship program where we were sourcing ideas from within the employee base, and our members were holding workshops for them to turn those ideas into pitchable business cases or business projects. That could internally actually transform the company, and Infinity was dedicated enough to support some of those ideas. So right now we have more than 800 members within our network. By launching our online platform, we will open up a free membership opportunity to get involved in the world that we are building, but with limited access. Most importantly, to get access to those projects that we are running at higher and higher numbers with major corporations, and not only in Hong Kong, but now also in China, in Nairobi, in Cape Town, Johannesburg, Singapore, Manila. And the number of these cities and our clients is growing by the day. If you know the business structure and the format of expert networks, or ever you gave interview through GLG, that's something what we are building here, focusing on innovation and focusing on startups and entrepreneurs and empowering them to actually connect with each other within this membership base and engage them for higher quality and better output, and also for the benefit of corporations who hold very serious resources that these people need, and it's something that we totally agree on. So thank you for your attention. If you are interested in Mettā, you are always welcome. You can just say my name and have a coffee. If you're, or I am lucky, you will also find me there, and I will be very happy to welcome you there myself. Thank you for the attention.